Hello and welcome to Life Lessons with Barbara. Thank you for tuning in. I'm your host, Barbara Aline Johnson, and I'll be sharing with you some life lessons that I've learned through my many years of life experience, but also through my professional life as a counselor, a therapist, a consultant, and most recently as a life coach. Sponsoring this show is my business, BEJ and Associates LLC, a transformational coaching and consulting company. My team and I specialize in breaking down those barriers or working around those obstacles that stand between you and the life you truly want to live, or that business you want to create or grow, or that masterpiece that's waiting to be discovered. I want to give a huge shout out to Black Wall Street Radio for giving me this wonderful opportunity to be of service to you for an hour. If you're enjoying as much as I do After the Rain, that is the creation of none other than lead guitarist extraordinaire Lois Lady Mac McMorris. So mellow. And if you would like to download After the Rain, go to my website, bej-associates.com. And once you're there, hit the radio tab. And you'll see a link to download After the Rain, but there's a whole lot of other goodies too. You'll be able to see as well as hear all of the programs that we've done on Life Lessons with Barbara, and there's also a link to some fabulous career opportunities with Dudley Beauty Core. So check out my website, bej-associates.com. Now today I will be introducing you to another phenomenal associate with BEJ and Associates, and his name is Dana Gower. So stay tuned. So again, I want to thank you for tuning in, and now it's my pleasure to introduce to you another associate with BEJ and Associates, and his name is Dana Gower. So hello, Dana. How are you?
I'm good, Barbara. How are you?
I'm good too. I wanted to give you a chance to give us some background about yourself, because I already had interviewed Sterling, and I've already established the fact that I have some awesome associates with BEJ and Associates, and they're people who are very accomplished, creative thinkers, and folks that get in there and do. And so you really were so critical in completing our team, because the whole goal was to establish ourselves as a good resource for organizations. And but we had nobody that had your gifts, your talents. And lo and behold, another associate who I won't mention right now, but recommended you. And you were just the ticket. You were just the person we needed, because you actually had background in working with corporations, and you have that, that expertise in terms of money. And the rest of us are just, we're real bleeding heart people. And so we needed that kind of, that
you needed a corporate machine.
Yeah. So anyway, I would like for you to just tell us a little bit about your background, like where you're from, where you went to school, what you studied, and, maybe hit some highlights in terms of your career so far.
Well, I'd be delighted to. And by the way, I think that associate might be slightly biased with all the nice things she said.
Well, yeah, but she was right.
Well, money does buy friendships and endorsements. Now, in all seriousness, I have. I'm originally from New England, and so I have, however, lived in the South for most of my life. I went to graduate school in Florida, and then I've lived in small towns, big cities, Texas, South Carolina, Raleigh, North Carolina for a lot of years.
Yeah, still here.
Research Triangle Park area. And so I've had a diversity of experiences and different places to live. I have 5 kids and 6 grandchildren, and so I've had a diversity of experiences there. Yeah. And then in business as well, I've worked for a long time. I worked for a Fortune 500 large company, and then I've been a business owner. I've been in consulting, and so all totaled, I guess if you made me total it up, it'd probably be over 30 years of business experience. And then that doesn't include business experience, valuable business experience that I got growing up in a family business.
I wanted to kind of get, because you had to come from somewhere. I mean, you just don't end up where you are.
Yeah, I mean,
without any background that led you to it. So,
well, it's really interesting because I grew up in high school, in college, 70s and 80s, long time ago now for a lot of people. But back then, the United States was very much an industrial powerhouse. So I grew up in a small town in New England where it seemed that every, back then it was very male dominated, but every young man had access to machine shops and various construction projects going on around town that the men were involved with. So we got a lot of hands-on experience with quote unquote business, if you call it that, at a young age. And my dad was an entrepreneur. He ended up, I think, with like 26 patents, but he was in manufacturing.
Oh, he was an inventor.
He was an inventor.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, he had a very interesting background. And so you can, if you look at pictures, I know we're mostly radio here, and I actually don't have any pictures handy, but see me as a young kid being, in his little garage factory, kind of hanging out and seeing what the older men were doing. And then ultimately in high school and college, I worked for the family business. So then I went to undergrad school at the University of Maine, and went directly from there to a small college in Florida called Rollins College for my master's in business administration. And I kind of had this thing, I guess, growing up in a small town and worked for a small business, I felt like I needed to get into the big leagues. So I majored in finance, both in terms of my undergrad and my graduate degree, and then ultimately went to work directly for a Fortune 500 after graduate school.
I missed it. What was your undergraduate degree in?
It was also in business and finance. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So,
well, you came by that honestly. You grew up in a family of innovators, right?
Yes. Yeah, and I kind of growing up there, I saw the ups and downs of a small business, and I really didn't want to be involved with that. So I think part of it was I wanted to be part of a perceived. And part of, I know later we're going to talk about my book, Careering, but and we've got some very interesting instrumental things that are happening in our country, but I perceived the large corporation as much more stable. And lo and behold, I left the corporation after about 15 years. I was downsized and became quasi-independent and then totally independent today. So in a way, I've gone back to exactly what I tried to avoid as a kid. And that is
trying to do your own thing.
Small business, yeah.
It is very challenging, isn't it? But it's very rewarding too, right?
It can be extremely rewarding, both in terms of flexibility, in terms of income, lots of different things. Yeah.
Well, what kind of sides did you see being a part of a corporation?
I really, for me, I was very, very happy working for the corporation in many ways. I enjoy working in teams, so that was good.
Yeah.
I had the perks of a major company. Little things that you don't think of, like travel and all that, travel arrangements. The accounting, the legal stuff was all taken care of.
Yeah.
And so those things can be a time hog for a small business person. And so if I miss anything, it's the benefits of that
Having that support.
And it is the little things that kind of eat your lunch.
It does, especially if you don't have expertise in it, like technology.
Yeah.
So that's my nemesis right now. Oh, yeah, I got plenty of them, but that's the worst.
Well, and it's changing every day. So it seems like you just get to a point where you feel confident about certain technology, and all of a sudden somebody else has come along with something different. And in order to stay current, you have to learn it.
Well, okay, so you saw your dad working as a small business owner, and you said that was kind of that was the thing that convinced you that you didn't want to go that route. But then when you got downsized, that was really your only option I guess you started out on a temporary basis. Or
no, I could have gone right back into a different company there, theoretically. But getting back to kind of what I was missing, in the company, I was in a salaried staff position, and it did kind of, it was kind of hard for me to accept capped income, and like no matter how well I performed, I knew that probably the best thing is maybe back then a 5 or 7% pay raise, all right, annually, no matter how hard I worked, right?
Yeah.
And I was promoted throughout the years, but those promotions came with a lot more heavy lifting. And so I kind of felt like I wanted to not be restrained, that if I could find a more direct correlation between what I do and what I perform and income, that might be more rewarding.
Yeah. And you put in a lot more hours than you did. I mean, it may have seemed like, at least that's been my experience. You working on your own, being your own boss and stuff. I mean, you're at work really 24/7. I mean,
yeah.
You have to. My challenge has been to departmentalize, where the work doesn't bleed into every other aspect of my life.
Yeah, and that's hard to do, isn't it? Because I think you're right, Barbara. It can kind of seem like 24/7 in a way, but the flip side of that is like if I want to go work out at my gym on a Monday afternoon, I can do that and not feel guilty about it.
Like you're getting ready to do. I just want to interject here that since Dana is so savvy about business, I took advantage of this interview to pick his brain about the direction that we need to take BEJ and Associates in order to maximize our chances to get business. So based on the talents that we bring to the table. And here's what he had to say. Really good advice.
Actually, the number one reason people leave their employer has to do with their boss. And yeah,
I'm one of them.
So, that's number one, is I'm not getting along with the boss. So that's
exactly.
an interaction. It may or may not be overcome, but certainly knowing that it's a problem in a case, and then having a BEJ associate help with work through that for the team, the group, what have you, is a very inexpensive fix, really.
Yeah. Yeah, if you look at the, what do they call it, ROI, right?
Return on investment.
Yeah. See, I did learn something in that class.
Yeah.
Yeah, that when you when you weigh it out, yes, it's worth the investment. I don't, and maybe some companies, I'm hoping that, we connect with some companies that see the value of that.
You will, yeah.
Like
There's tons of them. They're probably listening right now, some of them.
Yes, yeah, they are. They're going to give us a call in just a few minutes. That would be great.
Well, I was just going to say, I think the other challenge that these businesses can face today is diversity of workforce, different types of people from different cultures working under one roof, and also, or remotely, as it is the case in many situations, and also generational. In some cases, it's 4 generations of people working, and these are and under one organization, and these are things that basic human relations and human interaction can make or break the business. And that's what you're talking about here is coming in and understanding you have an immense understanding with the team of these very specific issues.
Right.
Turn on.
Hopefully, that will be something that will get a corporation's attention because, hey, I mean, demographics are changing, the workforce is changing, and there are more folks that fall in the other category or the minority category than there used to be. And so there's got to, there needs to be, some sort of facilitation of that. People just, need to have a dialogue like Love in Action or something like that. And of course, as we test the Love in Action thing where we're looking at the destructive isms in our society, we'll offer that as an offering, as one of the many products that we'll have to offer. And I think it's so critically needed. Now we're about to really get into my pet peeve, and that is when these young folks come into management positions and decide that they want to put the old folks out to pasture. Anyway, I have a problem with that. But anyway, there's always 2 sides to each story, so here's more of Dana's take on that. Very, very critically needed. And I mean, and actually, when you were talking about the generational thing, that is what happened with me, taking an early retirement because the management changed, and I had a boss all of a sudden who was not even as old as my daughter, and she had the notion that those of us who are older, who have been around a while, didn't really have anything to offer, and so she just kind of relegated us over here somewhere. And eventually everybody just started to retire. It reminds me of somebody else who doesn't listen, who doesn't take advantage of the wisdom and so forth. And,
lots of talent going out the door. And, I think part of that is that the younger folks who've grown up working with technology and kind of being arguably more comfortable with it, and the older people, they then think that for some reason the other work experiences and wisdom don't count. But I challenge boomers and others to be sure to stay up with technology, and I think they've begun to close that gap now for sure. But this is the first generation in history where younger people have actually had to show older people how to get things done.
Right.
So I think that's part of it. We kind of asked for it, but certainly older people can bring a lot of things to the table. When life experience problems recur and solved by people that have that experience that a younger person can benefit from.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, sometimes they question why things are done the way they're done, and want to change them because they don't understand the reason why the process was in place in the first place. And so those younger folks coming in, if they would at least, take time to acclimate to why things are done the way they're done, then they could probably, come up with ways to upgrade or to make things better.
Sure.
But they need to know why they're in place in the first place.
I would encourage younger people in the workforce, young managers, to think about the quote unquote older folks as consultants, and you hire a consultant, and that consultant, is going to, if you ask that consultant for ideas and so forth, it doesn't mean that you have to accept every single idea, but if you get a few good things out of that quote unquote consultant older employee who's working as an employee, you're better off for it before you pull the trigger on something new. You might have a certain idea of an improvement idea, innovation, and I think that's great, and the energy around that. But why not get an older person to kind of litmus test it with and say, look, I'm thinking about doing this. What do you see some of the drawbacks, or how might you refine it in terms of maybe getting acceptance from the rest of the organization, right? Maybe other implementation issues, right? So, because the more experienced people have seen tons of organizational changes, and they know what they liked in terms of things that were presented and how they were presented, and they know, as a workforce, and what they didn't like. Right,
what the pitfalls are. They know those. But then we're really talking about what's going on in the greater society. So a business is a microcosm of the larger society. And so there is, that kind of mentality that is, just kind of persists, anyway. I love when I meet an older person who is willing to learn the technology. So that is...
Well, and it's become more user-friendly, so older folks are more willing to do it too.
Yes.
So, if you ask people, you think about early technology is kind of cumbersome, almost like you have to be a programmer, to get something done. That's a real turn-off. Yeah, it becomes user-friendly. Then older folks say, hey, it's a no-brainer. I'm going to use this. I like it.
Yeah, and those that try it, those that hang in there, they love it. They've taken over Facebook.
Yeah.
Young folks have gone off somewhere else. Yeah. We've taken it over.
On Instagram and a few other.
Oh, well, I haven't gotten there yet. I'm still in the Twitter. I'm not a tweeter yet. I mean, I do a little bit, but I just don't feel the hook. My daughter just loves it.
The hook either.
You either? Oh, well.
Not yet.
Yeah. Well, listen, this would be a good time to hear about your book.
Yes,
why don't we transition? Well, I'm going to take a quick break here.
Okay.
And then we'll come back and talk about, what's the title again?
The title of the book is Careering: How to Find and Maintain Meaningful Work in Today's Economy.
Wonderful. Okay, everybody, stay tuned. We'll be right back.
BEJ and Associates LLC offers a broad array of services, including life coaching to help achieve your personal goals, planning, facilitation, and presentations of workshops, seminars, and conferences, various customized services, diverse and personalized addictions intervention, and organizational staff development. We specialize in dismantling barriers to individual and organizational achievement. BEJ and Associates. Enlighten, inspire, motivate at bej-associates.com.
So we're back. I'm talking with my associate and friend, Dana Gower, and he's going to tell us about careering, how to find and maintain meaningful work in today's economy. Tell us about it, Dana.
Well, careering, first of all, it was a team effort. I had 20 expert contributors from various businesses, everything from CEOs to HR managers to specialists helping me in constructing the work. It's state-of-the-art career advice, and also it's got built-in job search. Since this new world requires you to job search every few years now, it seems, for most people, so that's built in. The book was published on Amazon in December of 2015, and we've begun to do some keynote presentations and workshops around the careering book. So, but the careering book itself, the careering itself is it's a combination of a couple things. One is we're trying to start a movement, and that is to get people to join the careering movement, and then the book is kind of like the how-to, right? So, but basically the movement is about this notion of, despite technology, kind of, what we call the digital divide, where people think that they're building relationship. We know that in business, you still have to have a human component in order to get business done. It can be supplemented with technology, and technology can play a big role. But the book is all about business relationship building, and it's about lifelong learning, which has become really mandatory, and if you want to remain current in the working world. And then we have a faith component as well.
Yeah. I think one thing that sets your book apart from other books about, how to negotiate a career for yourself in this world is the fact that you used real life case studies. Can you highlight a couple of those?
Well, yeah. So we probably have 5 short case studies in the book, and these are real people that we've worked with and are in various groups who have told their story, continue to tell their story of the ebb and flow of the workplace, particularly those that have been downsized or terminated and have had to rebuild their lives. So we have my co-author tells a wonderful story about how he was laid off 3 different times from Nortel Networks here in Raleigh, North Carolina. Nortel's now out of business, but one of the times that he was laid off, he came home and he tells this wonderful story about how he was, understandably very anxious. He had 2 young children, a wife, so forth. And he pulled into the yard, and he had called on the way home to let his wife know that he had been laid off yet again. And so she was waiting for him in the yard with the daughter. His son was off with a friend. And so he pulled in, and normally he says, I get a hug from my daughter and all that. And he said, instead, she darted into the house, and she said, Daddy, you can't come into the house just yet.
Uh-huh.
He greeted his wife, and he waited outside, and then finally she opened up the window and said, okay, Daddy, you can come up. Come on inside, come on upstairs. So he walked upstairs, and lo and behold, on her bedroom door was a little note saying, knock before you enter. So he knocked on the door, and he walked in, and she had set up a little desk with a chair, and she greeted him with a handshake, and she said, hi, Mr. Dean, and he said, have a seat. And she was only like 7 or 8 years old.
Oh, how cute.
So it turns out he sits down, and she puts this little piece of paper in front of him, right along, and he filled out the questions. And so at the end of this, she looked at the paper, and she stood up, and she said, congratulations, Mr. Dean, you have a new job.
That is wonderful. That's a beautiful story.
You know, and so you can imagine he describes his whole emotional state just transformed to something different. You know, losing a job,
putting everything in from proper perspective.
Through her, he realized what was really important, and ultimately he transitioned, and he's fine. But you know, it can be stressful. So we've got stories in there about that. People overcoming.
Love that. We need to mention your co-author's name just for the record.
Yes, his name is Paul Dean, and he's a North Carolina registered forester with an IT degree. So for many years, he worked in corporate America, big company in IT, and then after his third layoff, his final layoff, he decided to go back into forestry. So he's a North Carolina forester.
Oh, he likes the outdoors, huh?
Yeah.
Oh gosh, I didn't know that. Well, how did you guys come together to collaborate on this book in the first place?
So he was running a career ministry at our church, St. Andrew, in Apex, North Carolina, and I started to help him with that. And people kept saying, "You guys got to write a book," and you know, you're helping these people that are going through job transition, so forth. And so I was kind of hesitant for a lot of reasons, because I'd written some material 10 years previously, and I knew what it would take. So so we agreed to do it, and we sat down, and that's where we found a whole bunch of support, people that wanted to participate, and worked hard. And I think it was about a 3-year effort on a part-time basis to create a nice piece of work. But we're very proud of it. We are able to donate proceeds from book sales to charity, and as I said, we started to get out and speak to associations and companies about the careering movement. But the big picture, really, as I said, it's a how-to manual, right? And it is very thorough and very specific. At the end of every chapter, a person can fill out a worksheet to help propel them towards their goal. The bigger mission really is to try to help the tremendous amount of unemployment and underemployment that we have in the country that is completely understated by government agencies. Frankly, people know, anecdotally, that many people are underemployed and unemployed. But when you hear on the radio that the unemployment rate is an all-time low since before the recession and all that, everyone knows
a lot of working poor among them.
A lot of working poor. It's hard to it's hard to make a living in many of the jobs that now are offered in the country. So this is an effort really to try to engage leadership everywhere, as well as everyday people, to rise up and say, if we are smart and we work hard together as a country, begin with looking at finding a new enemy in politics, and instead of it being a blue or a red as the enemy, that maybe there's a different enemy out there, all right? And getting the red and blue to work together for not just jobs, but good jobs in the United States, right? Who knows what we can do? And we speak a lot about that in the book. We speak a lot about the idea of living in a world of abundance and not a scarcity mindset. These things, that are not that complicated, but I think we've lost sight of them in the work, in helping each other. Just what can I do to help you with your business or your occupation, and vice versa.
Right.
And this could be turned around where a lot of us, not just a few of us, could be very prosperous.
Yes, and of course there's that huge disparity, economic
it's scary
disparity.
how big the income inequality is. It's just scary, and again, it doesn't matter if you're a red or a blue. You got to be concerned about that.
Yes.
And that I think in a big picture.
Yes, and of course there's that huge disparity, economic
it's scary
disparity.
how big the income inequality is. It's just scary, and again, it doesn't matter if you're a red or a blue. You got to be concerned about that.
Yes.
And that I think in a big picture kind of sense, when you think about it, the United States, we were created. The reason we rebelled against England was that it was like an aristocracy, right? Telling us what to do.
Yeah.
Freedoms and opportunity.
Yeah.
And yet this concentration of wealth that we have, there's nothing wrong with getting wealthy.
I heard it was horrible. There's eight people that hold as much wealth as, I don't know, X billion over here. I mean, it's just ridiculous. This was on a world scale, though.
Right.
I mean,
and I don't think you have, and I think both people of both persuasions, whether you're Republican or Democrat, should be equally concerned about spreading the opportunity, and for everyone. And honestly, having worked in big business, all right, having worked in small business and medium, right. I think that right now at this time that the big business, unless you're a big business, it's hard to compete, and I think that's kind of unfair. And I think that if we can impact some policies to kind of level the playing field, I mean, who knows what we could do. Small businesses, I love big business, all right, I really do. I think they've got a place, but I think when they get to the point where they can dictate the terms and conditions to the disadvantage of small business, arguably, I don't think that's helpful.
No, it's not. That's discouraging, though. I mean, looking at the political climate right now, it's hard to see because there's so much of a divide between the major political parties, and we have some.
Say if they find a new enemy. Don't make it your neighbor, your friend, your fellow congressman. Because they have a different political. Make it somebody else. Find an adversary somewhere else. And pick on them, but work together for prosperity.
Yeah,
purposes.
That would be wonderful. I don't know how that can happen looking at the way things are now, but as long as each of us do our part, then maybe
that is part of it, right? We think that in small groups, helping each other with your career, trying to find ways to progress and helping each other. That's a good place to start, and then getting more and more leaders involved with this to say, we're gonna make a level playing field in business and opportunities for people, so that they're not felt like they're shut out, and that if they work hard, they will be rewarded.
So in the context of your book and the philosophy behind it, where do you see this current debate about the healthcare, universal healthcare, or I think that's what the left wants, universal for everyone. Mm-hmm. But the right is on a different. What's that about, and how are we going to bridge that gap?
Well, it's really interesting because I'm very independent, so I can't seem to align with any extreme positions on either side.
What are the primary fields now?
Well, in terms of employment,
yes.
Healthcare. Tremendous amount of people in healthcare, technology, tremendous amount of people in technology. it's really the manufacturing segment that's gone way down. There are a lot of good jobs in construction. There's a lot of construction projects going on, and that's a pretty hot area. But healthcare and technology are two big employers in the country today. And
that's service. And there tends to be less money paid to, it's not rewarded as much.
Well, in some cases, that's true, but in other cases, like software engineers are paid very, very well.
Oh, yeah.
It's a good market for that. Some certain healthcare workers are paid very well. So it kind of depends.
Yeah, but that's a real narrow, list of options. Because you have to have the aptitude, the inclination, the aptitude, the training to even take advantage of those jobs.
Yeah. And I think the idea of trying to figure out how, and again, I started the show, I mentioned I grew up in manufacturing, spent a lot of years, and it was hard for us to watch those jobs go away. The companies just one after another moving offshore, what have you. And I think that it got imbalanced. I think it was, it's become imbalanced. And I think the trade policies were too abrupt. The free trade initiatives and all were just too abrupt. When China was paying the people and still a lot less than we are per hour, they just kind of flipped a switch on that. So, they're making like 80 cents an hour, and they flipped the switch. And free trade was supposed to mean, great things, but I think they found out that, it just didn't quite pan out like that. And so I think looking at each trade agreement we have very, very carefully, making sure that, you look at it from many different standpoints, not just what's going to benefit one party, but what's going to preserve jobs and incomes here in the country would be a more prosperous country overall.
Right. Yes. Well, let's get back to the book, though. What is there anything more you want to share about that? Because I want to give you an opportunity to do that. Did you get into the politics? Did you did you try to?
Yeah, we did. The book is a very practical guide on how to, what you need to do. And I can talk about that. But to answer your question, we do have a little rant about our concern about some of the very things you mentioned. It's short rant, and it's optional for people to read it. But we are very concerned because we're patriotic, and we're concerned about our kids and our grandkids and what kind of opportunities they have. And I just think that that responsible adults, and boomers particularly, we kind of arguably created this situation. And I think before we move into the next life, we ought to do everything in our power to help correct it and make it a good place for our kids and grandkids.
So, what do we do wrong now?
Well, I think the economic job situation is something that we kind of created over the last 20, 30 years.
Is capitalism, this is really a loaded, uninformed question, but is capitalism really, are we able to sustain that? Because I'm thinking, every year you get an increase, the idea or the goal is to get an increase, and it just keeps going up and up. How do you sustain that? I see that it is not sustainable.
I think capitalism is an incredibly powerful tool for people to create and innovate. All right, and I really do. But I think what comes into play, it's just like, if you designed a board game, right, and there were no rules and no regulations, all right. People do all kinds of wacky things. So I think unbridled capitalism with no really good guardrails is a real problem.
Yeah. Right? Well, we just saw what happened with the housing market. Yeah. And people lost not only their houses and their investments, but they also lost their pensions and so deregulation is dangerous.
A lot of that was avoidable.
I know.
If we had been more had remained more conservative in banking, right, with our banking regulations, that could have been avoided, and sometimes the law of unintended consequences comes into play, because the whole proliferation of this idea of everybody own a home and a house, which is an honorable thing. Well, for some reason, somebody at the top, in the top policy making made that decision, and they didn't think about whether the person could actually afford it or not if things go bad. So,
but with the regulations, there was a coworker of mine who was really making above minimum wage, and there was someone wooing her to build a 3-bedroom home in the cul-de-sac. And she could have gotten that had she not consulted someone who told her don't do that, because all the. But I mean, greed plays into this a lot, and I think maybe what is that individualism? It's a mindset that I think is hurting us at this point. The idea that if you're down here, then that's your fault. There's something that's your shortcoming, and that's the consequence for you. And there's no responsibility. There's no feeling of responsibility to ensuring a safety net for those who can't get into this game of capitalism.
Yeah.
And I think that's sad. What do we do? Pray on it?
Yeah. Well, I think there are many things that could be done honestly, and it starts with understanding the facts. And I've often felt like if you had, starting with various governments, some, state level, federal, if you had like a economic initiative, and you pulled together the best people with one common mission, and that is to look at every single policy, study other countries, what they're doing well, what they're not doing well, and just adopt recommend some policies of Congress that are going to be very friendly for everybody, right? And very forward-looking, and fair, regardless of the size of the business, right? And that would be a start.
That would be really nice. That would be it's wishful thinking right now.
Yeah, I mean, it's something like that. But absent that, getting back to kind of like the book and what people can do on their own, there are many things they can do on their own, and it starts with taking initiative, and it starts with maintaining your skills that we mentioned about lifetime learning. I mean, you can get so many such a great education online for nothing today.
Right,
in a lot of cases, or low cost. You can learn new things, and one of the things we talk about in our presentations is looking to where the hockey puck's going. That's what Wayne Gretzky said. And they asked him how are you so great, and he said, "As I skate to where the hockey puck's going, not where it's been." Well, from a career standpoint, is you need to be watching. Is my job going to be viable in 2 years, or is it going to be replaced by a robot? Is my industry going to be around?
Right.
Is my business going to be around? And we call it taking this You Inc. initiative, like treating your career as if it were a business. This is what businesses do every day, right?
Yes, we do.
They have people that are studying products, and figuring out where do they need to take the business, what do they need to exit, right? What markets do they need to exit? What markets do they need to get into? And people need to do the same thing.
Yes. And okay, we're in a matrix, you know that, right? The people are so distracted. There's so much coming at a person. But yes, we do need to take the initiative to, like you said, treat your life like it's a business.
Yeah.
And study, read, know what's going on. Stay tuned in to what's actually happening. Look at the trends and all of that stuff. And I think that's where a lot of us fall short. We're just caught up in the distraction. And and I can relate to that. I got off into video games at one time when after I retired. And then came Facebook and all these other things. And they can eat up a lot of your time. And you're not going to be sitting there thinking, well, I wonder, in 5 years what my goals should be. People are not inclined to think that way. But, there's going to be kind of a rude awakening, I think, if we continue on this track.
Absolutely. And budgeting some time and some money to invest in yourself and your career.
Yes.
When you could count on one employer for life, they took care of your career.
Right.
But today, you need to figure out ways you need to budget for some things: self-development, personal development, career development, annual spend on it. All right. Think about your spending and allocate some money if anything available to help you. It's a good investment in yourself. And then time, like you say, Barbara, tuning into what's going on, meeting new people. I've often said that the future job security, in addition to maintaining your skills, is your network of people that if something happens,
right.
Your boss calls you in on a Friday and says, look, you no longer have a job. Well, you've got a network of a few hundred people, 25 or 30 of them you can phone up, and they're not going to hang up on you because you
already have established a relationship with them.
That could lead to a new job by Monday morning. Right? Yes. Versus if you stayed in the silo and you didn't get out and you didn't connect with these
in front of the television.
And you have, who do I call? I can call my mother. I can call my brother. But you're in trouble. And allocate some money if anything available to help you. It's a good investment in yourself. And then time, like you say, Barbara, tuning into what's going on, meeting new people. I've often said that the future job security, in addition to maintaining your skills, is your network of people that if something happens,
right.
Your boss calls you in on a Friday and says, look, you no longer have a job. Well, you've got a network of a few hundred people, 25 or 30 of them you can phone up, and they're not going to hang up on you because you
already have established a relationship with them.
That could lead to a new job by Monday morning. Right? Yes. Versus if you stayed in the silo and you didn't get out and you didn't connect with these
in front of the television.
And you have, who do I call? I can call my mother. I can call my brother. But you're in trouble. From a job standpoint. So ways to overcome that by consciously continuously nurturing your existing network of people and new people.
Right. So we're going to wrap up now, and I thought that was very profound what you just said. But what would be, after all this that we've discussed today, what would be the life lesson you suggest we leave for our listeners?
Well, I think that regardless of your current situation, right, you could be very, very happy at work and feeling secure. But I would, if you're in that boat, I would say question it, because you might be surprised. It may not be as stable as you think. So don't worry, but take precaution. So make sure you're managing your career. Make sure that even if it feels stable and you don't need to be connected with people, don't fall into that trap of complacency. Could come back to bite you. If, on the other hand, you're not currently working or you're underemployed, know that there are so many great ways to improve and make money these days, and the formula has changed. We didn't talk about this, but the idea of if let's say you don't have an advanced degree or you don't even have a degree, and you read these little job descriptions and they say, well, you should have this and that. Well, the truth of the matter is that hiring managers are really looking more for what you can do for them than they are what your degree is anymore. Right. So now
they're looking for innovation, new ideas, and so be thinking in terms of what the needs are, what the trends are.
Absolutely. And I think maybe the third part of this is that the competition that's being placed on these businesses means that the old idea, if you know, of not being engaged with your job, all right, that is going to come back to bite you, because the competition is getting stronger every day from every business line, and companies are going to be required to, you know, everybody working with companies is going to be required to be more productive, right? So the way you do that is you get engaged, find a way to do what you do, and then maybe enjoy it more. Find a way to do it. Talk to your boss. How can you make my job more interesting?
Right.
What can I do what courses can I take online to, you know, maybe set myself up for a better job here and make money? I mean, you got to be proactive.
I like that. That's a good one. Be proactive. You've offered some nuggets of wisdom for those who appear to be, you know, well situated.
It's really, we talked about engaged, making sure you remain engaged at work. Right. Because of the competition, the companies you're going to be tougher and tougher on that. You know, you're going to have to perform if you're not. And but I think the idea of this You Inc., and that is thinking of your career as if it were a business. How do businesses make decisions? Learn that and apply them to your personal career.
Right.
Make it good business decisions.
Great. Dana, thank you so much. You got my head full of more stuff. But I know out of all that you've shared, I mean, this has been really a great opportunity for there's bound to be some listeners out there that needed to hear what you had to say. And I thank you so much for sharing so graciously. And so let me just remind everybody the name of Dana Gower's book, and Dana co-wrote this book with Paul Dean, right?
Yes.
And the title is Careering: How to Find and Maintain Meaningful Work in Today's Economy.
Right.
Thanks again. I'm so glad that you are on my team.
Well, I'm glad to be part of your great team. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Barbara.
Again, I thank you for tuning in to Life Lessons with Barbara here on blackwallstreetradio.net. I hope you enjoyed the show today and that you'll continue to tune in, because eventually you'll meet all of my amazing associates who are affiliated with BEJ and Associates. Also, don't forget to visit my website, bej-associates.com. Once you get there, go to the tab marked Radio, and you'll find all the goodies I told you about at the beginning of the show. So again, that website address is bej-associates.com/radio. And without any further ado, the life lesson we'll contemplate for the week comes from this amazing gentleman that we've just heard, Dana Gower, who says, invest in yourself. Treat your career as though it were a business. That's some great advice, y'all. Have a wonderful week. Namaste.
BEJ and Associates LLC offers a broad array of services, including life coaching, to help achieve your personal goals, planning, facilitation, and presentations of workshops, seminars, and conferences, various customized services, diverse and personalized addictions intervention, and organizational staff development. We specialize in dismantling barriers to individual and organizational achievement. BEJ and Associates. Enlighten, inspire, motivate at bej-associates.com.